In this lesson, we'll be looking at combining like terms and then solving equations. Our goal is you can solve multi-step equations at the end of this lesson. Okay, the first thing we need to do is remember our rules of algebra. Remember, we have two rules of algebra. Opposites cancel, and what you do to one side, you do to the other. If you do follow those two rules, you can solve any of these algebraic equations. Remember, our goal is to find the value of the variable by getting it all by itself. So we want to get that letter or variable all by itself, so we have to get rid of all the numbers next to it. Okay, let's get into it. Let's combine like terms and solve. So here you can see we have our equation. It's a lot more involved than the ones we've seen before. But we'll work on simplifying it. We have 6x plus 4 plus 4x plus 6 equals 45 plus negative 15. So we still follow the first step, and the first step is always add the opposite all subtraction signs. Well, I don't see any subtraction signs here, so I don't have to worry about that. Then draw a line through the equal sign. Well, that's easy. Same as before. Okay, the next step, identify the variable. Well, here we have the variable, but there's two of them. There's 1x here and 1x here. And so that'll bring us to our next step. Our next step is simplify each side by combining like terms if possible. So we know from previous lessons that we can put together x's if they're the same and plain numbers if they're the same, because those terms are alike. Okay, so to make things easier for us, instead of having all four of these pieces or terms over here, let's combine them. I can put together the 6x and the 4x, and that becomes 10x. I can put the 4 and the 6 together, and that becomes 10. So now I get 10x plus 10 on the left side of the line. Well, I can still combine on this side too. I have a 45 and a negative 15. I can combine those. Those two terms are just constant. I can put constants together. So 45 plus negative 15 gets me 30. Okay, so now my equation is 10x plus 10 equals 30. And that looks just like the two-step equations we've practiced solving in the previous lesson. So when we're looking at combining like terms, you can combine all the stuff on the left side of the line. You can combine all the stuff on the right side of the line. But you can't combine things on the opposite sides of the line. That's why you draw the line. It's like a wall separating things from the left side and the right side. You can't combine those. If you're going to move something from one side to the other side, you have to use your rules. And that's where we go with our next step, is to solve this just like we did before. We need to use opposites to remove the constant. We got to get rid of this plus 10. So we subtract 10 or have a negative 10. Subtract 10 or a negative 10. And that gives me 20 on this side, and the 10's cancel. And I'm left with 10x equals 20. Okay, well now I got to get rid of the coefficient, and I do that by dividing by 10. Dividing by 10. My 10's cancel, and I'm left with x equals 2. So there we go. My final solution is x equals 2. So again, it was the exact same steps we did before. There's only one more added, where we had to combine all the like terms on the left side, combine all the like terms on the right side. And then we ended up with a simple two-step equation like we had been solving. And remember, in algebra, we can always check our answers. I can take this 2 and I can plop it in for both of these x's. We can see what we have. 6 times 2 is 12. 12 plus 4 is 16. 2 times 4 is 8. 8 plus the 16 is 24. 24 plus the 6 is 30. Well, that gives us 30 on the left side. Oop, there's 30. So now we look at the right side. 45 plus a negative 15 is 30. Hey, look at both sides are equal. So I must have done it right. Okay, here we have two examples that we'll look at together. So the first one, 4x plus 5 minus 2x plus 3 equals 21 minus 3. So remember, our first thing is we're always going to add the opposite on our subtraction signs. So add the opposite, add the opposite. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit here. Oop, too much. There we go. On this problem to make it a little easier. So now that we've got our added the opposites, we always draw our line through. And then we look, can I combine like terms? Sometimes there's a lot of things to combine. Sometimes there's nothing to combine. Sometimes there's just one or two. It all depends. You just have to use what you know about like terms to combine them. So here I can combine my 4x and my negative 2x because they're both x's. And so that becomes 2x. And then I can also combine my 5 and my 3, which gets me 8. That finishes up everything on my left side here. So I can look at my right side. 21 plus negative 3. Well, I can combine those. Those are both constants, and that gets me 18. Okay. So now I have a simple two-step equation like we have been solving for the last two lessons. So now I can just get rid of my constant by adding the opposite, and I make sure I do the same to both sides. That cancels out, and I'm left with 2x equals 18 plus negative 8, or 18 minus 8 gives me 10. Okay, and then I can get rid of my coefficient by dividing by 2, and I make sure I do it to both sides. And that leaves me with x equals 5, because the 2's cancel, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. So there's my answer of x equals 5. Okay, so let's look at another one together here. You can see this one's got a few less things in it, so that should make it a little easier for us. We always check, okay, any subtraction signs? I got 1, so I'm going to add the opposite. And now I draw my line through the equal sign. Now I look, is there anything to combine? Well, on my left side line here I have the two x's that can be combined. 6x plus negative 8x leaves me with negative 2x. Now, is there anything to combine with the 4? Nope, I can't combine it with the negative 24 because they're on opposite sides of the line. Remember, that line's a wall. You can't do anything across that wall. So that plus the adding 4 just comes right down, stays there. Okay, same thing with the negative 24. There's nothing to combine it with, so it just stays there. So my new equation is negative 2x plus 4 equals negative 24. Now it's a simple two-step equation I can solve. I minus 4, or add negative 4, that's gone. And now I get negative 28 equals negative 2x. Now I can divide by negative 2, divide by negative 2, this is gone. I'm left with x equals 14, because remember, a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So my answer is x equals 14. So this time, I only had one thing to combine. I can only combine the two x's here. Sometimes you can combine a lot, sometimes you can combine a little, and sometimes you can combine nothing. You just have to use what you know about combining like terms. And remember, you cannot combine over the line. Okay, there's two more practice problems. Why don't you pause the video, try these on your own, and then come back and check your answers. Okay, here we go. So on the first problem, you had to make sure you added the opposite, and then combine your like terms. 8 and negative 3x became 5x, negative 3 and 8 became 5. Subtracted or add a negative, get rid of your constant, and then divide it by 5 to get rid of your coefficient, and you're left with x equals 16. Okay, even though the x is on the right side this time, it was the exact same steps. Your second problem over here on the right, same thing. You combine your like terms. You got negative 20 plus 30 equals 90. Subtracted 30 to get rid of your constant. Divided by negative 20 to get rid of your coefficient. And you are left with m equals negative 3.